was driving to work this morning, I was listening to another radio station, as we broadcasters sometimes do. What I heard shocked and saddened me.
The Entertainment Roundtable.
They're here, nerds.
Wait, is this the group that goes around mutilating squirrels?
You just mind your P's and Q's, Buster, and remember who you're dealing with.
Well, at least we found them.
Fortuitous, Captain. And now that we have them all together,
you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs.
The Entertainment Roundtable.
They make one person go, blah, 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 and the other person go, what are you talking about? And then one person goes, blah, 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 blah.
Made it into the next weekend here. Superstation 101, WIDE. Hope everything is going well with you on Mother's Day weekend, and we got ourselves a full house. The only person we're missing is Josh, and, well, he's got an excuse because, hey, Mom's Night Out actually comes out tonight. So he and the Irwin brothers are quite busy, so maybe, I don't know, maybe next week we'll hear from him. As we go around the table, I am your host. I'm Steve West, behind the board and running everything properly and trying to make us sound as professional as possible, which is sometimes a tall task. Hello, Jeff.
Some people always trying to ask it uphill.
I know.
How you doing, man?
I'm usually one of them. Not too bad. Everything going well for your Mother's Day? Big
Swimmingly.
plans?
Sure.
Well said. Jacob, how are you? Welcome into the studio for the first time in a while.
Yeah, I'm here in studio, which is a positive. The negative is I didn't actually bring anything interesting to talk about. So
I bet you'll have comments as we go through the day.
I probably will do.
A gentleman who has given us some things to talk about today. David, welcome back to In Studio. Missed you last week.
I missed you too, Steve.
So happy to have him back.
I cried.
Especially a Batman shirt.
Yeah.
It's always fun to watch and see what kind of shirt David has on because it's usually something classic comic book stuff. So it's good stuff.
Not just Batman, Steve, but that's Neil Adams' artwork.
That's
well,
right.
There you go.
Props to Jeff for noticing what's up.
On top of it.
That's right, man. One of the greats.
Yeah. And on the phone, Ryan from Maryland. How are things up there in the Mid-Atlantic, sir?
Oh, the weather is beautiful. Everything is nice. And guess what? It's morphin' time, man.
Oh, yeah. We get to talk about that coming up in a little bit. Did you get the chance to go see Amazing Spider-Man 2 last week?
Yes, I did.
We will talk about that here in a couple of minutes. Plenty of movies coming out this weekend, but not overall a big headlining week. We'll see what's going on here. Top 10 movies of the week. Found it fairly interesting. Couple of movies that fell out of the top 10 last week actually reappear into the top 10 this week. God's Not Dead, back into the top 10 at number 10, 1.7, 55.6 for that. The movie that Jeff has consistently said he wants to see and probably still hasn't, The Grand Budapest Hotel. Still haven't seen it, have
No.
I haven't either, and I want to see it as well.
Reappeared in the top 10 again, 1.7 million, 51.5. So, these two have staying power. There's no doubt about it.
Awesome possum.
Quiet One's down to number 8, 1.9 million, 6.8. Doesn't speak well for this film.
Yeah.
Then again, I haven't heard much good about it anyway. To number 7, Divergent still hanging on, 2.1 million, 142.7 overall. Brick Mansion's up to number 6, 3.6 million, 15.6. Also not really good returns on this film. Again, the last full film that Paul Walker did. We've got one. Is it one more film, or was he working on something else other than Fast and Furious 7? Or is Fast and Furious 7 going to be the last new thing we're going to see Paul Walker in?
I believe Fast 7 is the last one.
Okay. Up to the top 5, you got Rio 2 there, 7.7 million, 106.6. Captain America Winter Soldier not only knocked out of the number 1 spot last week, dropped all the way down to number 4, 7.73, $237.2 million overall. Heaven is for Real is staying remarkably consistent. $8.6 million. It's been in the top 5 ever since, and it hasn't really seen a major percentage drop-off on its weekly take. It's up to $65.5 million, so good for them. The Other Woman, last week's number 1, $14.4 million, so good enough for number 2, $47.6. And as we all kind of figured, The Amazing Spider-Man took over the number 1 slot. But, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, you thought it was going to make north of $100 million.
Yes, actually I did. I was wrong.
Yeah, unfortunately you were. $91.6 million. Jacob and I, we kind of talked about the film. We thought that this was kind of a mediocre effort. It was overly long.
Yeah.
And it was very, very slow in places. I think you gave it, what'd you give it, Jacob, 6 or 6.5?
I think I gave it 6.
Okay, and I think it was only like half a point up from you, so it was either 6.5 or 7. So if you went 6, I went 6.5.
Yeah,
it wasn't
somewhere in there.
Great. It was Visually, it was pretty good. There were some special effects glitches in there that I thought could have been done a little bit better. But yeah, visually, it actually looks pretty good. Unfortunately, the storyline and the visuals don't seem to mash up. At least that's my opinion. Ryan, yours?
For The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I agree with pretty much everything you gentlemen were saying last week about The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I thought visually it was cool. The action sequences were cool to watch, and they were fun. Fun to see those guys fight it out. But at the same time, end of the film, last 20, 30 minutes or so, a lot was packed in there. There were some things that didn't need to be thrown in there. Green Goblin and the Rhino should have been saved for the third film, and the introduction to the Rhino was terrible. The wrong person was cast to play that particular role of the Rhino. Green Goblin had a few problems here and there. I like the background on Peter Parker's parents. That was a highlight for the film. And like we said before, action was cool and everything. And also an iconic moment from the comics that is displayed in the film. I'm not going to spoil it for those who have yet to see it, but I thought it could have been handled a little bit differently and a little bit better, make it more meaningful than what they gave us. So at the end of the day, Amazing Spider-Man 2 had a very high expectation for this film, and it just didn't make the cut. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. So right now, I think the Spider-Man cinematic universe is in deep trouble.
Okay, so you kind of agree with all of us. And Jeff, you had initially said at one point in time you had expressed interest in this film.
I did because it was so pretty.
And has that expression of interest changed?
Very much so. I mean, I'll eventually get around to seeing it, but from what you guys have said and things I've read here and there, it's getting a lot of people that I respect as far as like reviews, bloggers, and things like that are pretty much eviscerating the thing.
All right. What are they saying? I mean, Rotten Tomatoes obviously is the one that kind of most everybody goes to.
One writer pretty much gutted it, talking about how this series, the reboot, has pretty much made Peter Parker a complete jerk. There's no real lessons that he learns. Every decision, every consequence that occurs, negatively especially, tends to be because of someone else's poor decisions. It's like he's not responsible for. Whereas in the comic, Peter's always trying to do the right thing, but a lot of times, even when he tries to, things go terribly wrong. What they said in these movies, which all I can tell in the first one, I sort of agree with, it's usually somebody else making a decision. Whether he's like, "No, stay away," they're like, "I'm coming," and they, and something bad happens. So that sort of absolves him from any sort of responsibility for these terrible things that happen.
Okay, what's it getting on Rotten Tomatoes?
I always had a whopping 55%.
Yeah, we've seen worse, though. I'll ask the same question to you. Were you interested in this before you heard some of the reviews coming out, David?
Yeah, I finally, like 2 weeks ago, got around to seeing the first one.
All right.
And I thought it was a pretty good movie. I think a lot of people might be a little too harsh on some of these movies just because it's not like we're talking about Superman 4.
Okay.
Does anyone remember those? I mean,
yeah. Unfortunately, I'd like to forget Superman 4.
But, I haven't seen it, so I haven't seen the new one. That is a fair point with if that's what they're doing, making everything someone else's fault with everything that goes wrong with Peter's life.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the entitled I'm the victim generation, so, I mean.
Well, there's that. All right. So now that you've seen some of this, heard some of the reviews, your interest waning?
It is waning. Might check it out during a matinee or just wait for the DVD.
There you go. I think that's probably what most people are probably thinking when it comes to this.
When it comes down to it, I don't care that much because it's not tying in with the overall Marvel universe that actually is good.
All right. So. I'm going to ask this question here because we got three.
I'm sorry. I was just going
to say. No, go ahead.
I want a good Spider-Man, though, man.
I do,
would
too.
like to have a good Spider-Man.
He's like one of the most simple of superheroes to get right.
I know.
This teenager that gets these powers.
I just want good Spider-Man with the Avengers is all.
Okay, let me ask this question because we got 3 movies coming out this weekend in wide release, which we're going to get to in more detail in a minute. Neighbors, Mom's Night Out, Legends of Oz. Amazing Spider-Man 2. Remain number 1 next week or unseated?
Oh, it's going to be so unseated, I think.
Unseated for Jeff. Jacob.
I think it stays.
It stays for Jacob. David.
It's gone.
Gone. Ryan?
So tough, but I'm gonna bet the house on this one. I'm gonna say Spider-Man 2 is number 1 because it's a family film. That's what they're aiming for, family film.
Okay. I tend to think that it's gone out of number 1 because it will lose probably an easy 50% of its box office from one week to the next because of how much bad publicity it's getting. I think Neighbors barely beats it out.
I don't see Neighbors. I mean, Neighbors
for some reason
will do well.
I do.
I don't see it.
For some reason, I see that making
money.
just enough to beat out Amazing Spider-Man. I don't think it's going to make huge bank past that, but I think it'll be enough. Just barely. I think it'll be between those two.
Word of mouth on Spider-Man is awful. and word of mouth on Neighbors so far that I've seen has been really good.
Yeah, I've actually heard Neighbors is really funny.
Keeping in mind, this is Seth Rogen, Zac Efron, Rose Byrne, film where a couple with a newborn move into a neighborhood right next door to a frat house. This is going to be one of those films, those comedies that's kind of go after you with words and things like that. So understand that. This isn't necessarily a family film. This, if you're going to see a comedy that you're thinking, I'm going to take my kids, Neighbors is not going to be your choice.
That is not a deterrent for me.
Well, I understand that, but I'm giving that right now because what we're looking at is we're looking at a couple of comedies coming out this weekend. This one's not the family-friendly one, but this one has that Hangover, Bridesmaids, the Heat kind of attitude toward it, which has proven to be popular over the past few years.
Yeah, Renaissance of Raunch.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome to the world of raunchy comedy. That's why I think, for whatever reason, barely, but I think it comes into number one. Then gets us to Mom's Night Out, a movie that we've talked about many times, filmed right here in the state of Alabama. Sarah Drew, Sean Astin, Patricia Heaton, and others film about a stressed mother seeking a night away from the kids and how everything kind of goes all haywire. Mentioned it just a little bit ago. Our friends down at the Amstar Theater in Alabaster on a Friday evening, devoting 8 of their 14 theaters to showing Mom's Night Out because in an RSVP for a red carpet thing, they got 1,800 people that said, yep, I'll be there.
Nice.
So, again, this is local guys doing things in the local area. Support them. That's the way to do it.
I think this is going to put them on the map. I mean, I saw they spent about somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes talking about it on like Fox News this morning.
Yeah, they've been on Fox and Friends. Sean Astin's been on Fox and Friends. We've seen Patricia Heaton and Sarah Drew on, oh gosh, the one that has all the women on it in the middle. The View. Thank you. Oh, God, for some reason that just went right out of my head. We've had John and Andy right here in the building. They've been on local TV all over the place. So
I'll be honest with you. I think a lot of people, and it seems like the tone is that, Fox pushes like Heaven is for real. All these sort of faith-based or family films, they make sure to mention. But I think there seems to be with this one, there's a tone of like, holy crap, it's really good.
Yeah, it's not just a faith-based film. It's actually a comedy with a faith undertone to it.
Exactly. Yeah, and I started to say the faith element is pretty.
It's pretty subtle.
It's minimal. It's just a clean family sort of comedy. Basically.
So if you're looking to take your family to the movies and you want to go see a comedy, this would be your choice over Neighbors. If you're a guy like David who's a bachelor and doesn't care about that, may end up finding yourself going to see Neighbors. Or
probably not, actually, though.
Or you could go see something that I'm really not sure needed to be made. It's a film called Legends of Oz, Dorothy's Return. This is an animated film, features the voices of Leah Michele, Martin Short, James Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, and others. I didn't realize how many names they had gotten for this. It's the animated tale of Dorothy returning to Oz after the famed tornado blows through Kansas. This time she has to go back and save her friends, Scarecrow, Tin Man, Lion. Yep.
Yeah, been there and done that.
Does this thing break top 10?
Not even.
I'm only thinking because it's animated and because right now only Rio 2 is in there, it might slip into the top 10, but I don't think it's going to last that long.
Well, pushing against Bachelor stereotypes, I'm actually more interested to see that than Neighbors.
Are you really?
I don't like Seth Rogen anymore.
Okay, that might do it.
If it breaks into top 10, it won't be higher than 8.
It won't do well, but...
Jeff?
I think it might. There's a chance. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised either way.
Okay, Ryan, anything?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll make the top 10, but then again, it is Mother's Day weekend, so anything is possible at this point.
Where did they get the idea for this film?
I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure they just phoned it in as a paycheck because I haven't seen any advertising for this film, so the marketing campaign has been terrible.
I finally saw one ad for it earlier this week. I've seen one commercial in the past month dealing with this film.
I've seen a couple, but not many.
I can answer your question.
Go ahead.
The little further works of Baum, he wrote more stories about.
So this is actually based upon work? I have to admit, all I'm familiar with is Wizard of Oz.
And then there's, the one they did back in the 80s with Fairuza Balk.
Yep, I got that on DVD.
Return to Oz.
Yeah. No, okay.
Yeah. Which is kind of creepy for a
kid's
film.
It's Fairuza Balk. What would you expect? It's got to be a little creepy, doesn't it? Coming out in limited release, if you can look it up, you got a movie called App, which deals with a cell phone app. A movie called Chef. I didn't realize this was coming out in limited release, but it is. Jon Favreau, Robert Downey Jr., Sofia Vergara, good grief, so many more, Scarlett Johansson. We've been talking about this film for a while, but the question is whether you're going to be able to find it at your local movie theater.
It's sitting at an 88% right now.
Wow, high approval.
Wow.
I do want to see it.
And I don't know. I'm throwing this out to anybody who may or may not know. Is this being limited release now, wide release later, or
I'm sure it is.
all limited release from the get-go?
What do you got with Robert Downey Jr. and Favreau? Come on, it's going to go wild.
I would think it has to go wild somewhere.
Just Scarlett Johansson too, right?
Yeah.
Sofia Vergara.
Yeah.
I'll see it.
All right. Let's see what else is out there. Devil's Knots. This stars Reese Witherspoon and Colin Firth. You got The Double, starring Jesse Eisenberg and Wallace Shawn. Something called Fed Up. A movie called God's Pocket. One of the last appearances on film for Philip Seymour Hoffman, teaming up with John Turturro and others. The Hornet's Nest. Something called Palo Alto, starring Emma Roberts and James Franco. And finally, a film called Stage Fright. And I wouldn't have really thought about this much, but I couldn't resist it because it stars the combination of Minnie Driver and the singer Meatloaf.
Well, that's random.
Isn't it?
Huh.
Seems like an odd pairing.
Okay.
Yeah. Coming out in theaters next week. Bigger weekend, obviously, when it comes to big headlining films. You've got $1 Million Arm, the Disney film. You got a movie called A Night in Old Mexico, and then probably the headliner of next weekend, Godzilla is back.
A Night in Old Mexico actually looks pretty good. I've seen that trailer with.
This is Robert Duvall?
Yeah, it actually looks pretty decent.
Yeah.
Sort of an old cranky granddad goes down to Mexico, raises a little heck.
At this point,
so this one's on your radar.
A little bit.
Yeah.
At this point, I'll pretty much watch. I don't even know about the movie, but I'll pretty much watch anything with Robert Duvall in it at this point.
Yeah, he's not one of those guys, one of these elder statements that's making a bunch of, he's not coasting. You know, he picks stuff that he likes and plays the heck out of it.
Yeah, but he's very selective. I mean, if he likes the script, he also wants to make sure that it's not just something that he likes. He actually puts some thought into it before he goes and says, "Yep, I'm in." Yeah. Speaking of being in, we got a lot of movie news to get to, and wow, you want to talk about TV news? We are loaded down with it. We got a long ways to go here on the Entertainment Roundtable. Stick around. We will be right back.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming, the Entertainment Roundtable on Superstation 101.
Hey, welcome back in, listening to the Entertainment Roundtable. Coming back to the sounds off of the soundtrack to the movie Mom's Night Out. This is Natalie Grant. It's a song called Hurricane. We've been kind of keeping up with this. Now we finally have one more person. I believe it is David that is finally on the board here this week with the release of Amazing Spider-Man 2. Jacob, you've got the updated standings right now as we sit, and keeping in mind people like Jeff and Josh still haven't gotten on the board.
Well, Josh.
Well, I take that back. Josh is on the board. You're not on the board.
I'm not. Yeah, starting from the bottom, me and Jeff not had a movie that's been released yet, so we are sitting at 0 at the moment.
So your first one comes out the last weekend this month, and then the very next weekend, first weekend in June, is when we finally get Jeff on the board.
Correct. So we're waiting.
He's thinking he's got something going now.
Coming in next.
Come on, The Fault in My Stars. Let's do it, baby. Dark Horse.
Stop stroking your beard.
In fourth, we've got Ryan, who has close to $21 million from Transcendence. Tied for second, we have both Ryan and David. David's got about $107 million from Amazing Spider-Man 2, and Josh has $107 million from Rio 2.
Okay.
And then
these are numbers that were as of
today. As of about 10 minutes ago.
Okay, so Amazing Spider-Man has made another $16 million since Tuesday's official numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we come to you. You have about a little over $300 million from your three movies.
And let's face it, the vast majority of that is Captain America.
Yes.
And the big anchor for me is Draft Day, which, kind of like Transcendence, long gone out of the top 10, as it turns out. All right, Ryan, let's get to you here on movie news here. And it's funny, my wife and I recently checked out the movie Olympus Has Fallen, and we kind of liked it more than either of us thought we actually would. We don't think it's a great movie, but it's not horrible. It appears that Gerard Butler and Aaron Eckhart are going to be reteaming, and they're going to get a sequel out of this?
Yes, sir. It's going to be called London Has Fallen. This time they're going to be attending the London-based funeral of the British Prime Minister, who has recently died under mysterious circumstances, but it transpires that the funeral is being targeted by terrorists as part of a fiendish plot to wipe out a whole batch of world leaders in one go. It's going to hit theaters everywhere on October the 2nd of 2015.
So, in other words, they talked to the writers of this season of 24 and said, hey, that sounds good. Let's make a movie out of it.
Yeah, that's right.
Plus, it's convenient. You kill everybody, they're already in a cemetery.
Hey, well, there you go.
And we said this was a sequel?
The sequel to Olympus Has Fallen, yes.
Oh, I don't know that movie was good enough. It was a good movie, but not good enough for
I'm
a
not
sequel.
sure. Did it make $100 million?
I think it did.
Barely. I know that the other one, White House Down, didn't. That one was a bomb, but Olympus Has Fallen. Well, like I said, it wasn't bad, but I don't know, was it necessarily deserved a sequel?
No.
Well, they might just be saying, hey, these characters are good enough. Let's just,
that is
make another movie and, no one will notice.
That is a stretch to say they're good enough for a
I don't
second
know.
movie.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. It's, like I said, I'll have to let you borrow the DVD. I think we got it somewhere. We're also, speaking of sequels, going to see Bond, James Bond again. This time, the 24th film in the franchise. Ryan, what do you know about the upcoming film? Producer, director, they've been saying anything about it? Speaking of which, who all is coming back?
Yes, the cast that was introduced towards the end of Skyfall with the new M, the new Moneypenny, the new Q, as well as Bond himself, they're all going to be coming back, as well as Sam Mendes, who directed Skyfall. He's going to be returning. He says that Bond 24 is going to complete the story that was, in fact, started in Skyfall. What he means by that is, we were introduced to two of the characters at the very, very end of the film, so he wants to expand that universe a little bit and have those characters evolve. So either way, it's going to be a great film, no matter what.
Skyfall, correct me if I'm wrong, even adjusted for inflation, has made the most of any of the 23 previous Bond films?
Yes, it has.
And it's the #1 film in the history of Britain.
Yep.
They're missing a perfect opportunity.
For?
Bond. Bauer. James Bond 24. Come on.
Oh, I thought he was going to say James Bond with the Avengers.
It's the 24th. Yeah,
Just want to talk about being desperate at that point in time.
Just Bond/24.
They just alter the continuity a little bit. James Bond becomes Captain Britain.
There we go.
Wow, we've gone off the deep end here. Speaking of gone off the deep end, somebody came up with the idea, and apparently this is the remake or reboot section of the show. Starting off with you, David.
Oh, what?
The Goldie Hawn film Private Benjamin. Apparently somebody has come up with the rather odd idea of remaking this film.
Yeah, producer Mark Gordon wants to remake it. He wants Rebel Wilson to take on the lead role.
Wow, that
Goldie Hawn made famous.
Does he not want to make money? Is that the goal? Is he pulling like a the producer's scheme here?
I don't know, but Rebel Wilson makes me want to vomit every time I see her.
And I kind of liked Private Benjamin the one time that I've seen it, but I've never gone back and watched it again.
Well, if you take the $70 million it made in 1980 and
extrapolates out to pretty good cash,
it's over $200 million in today's terms. So
still,
but this dude's been chasing this dream since 2010.
Why?
He's been chasing a dream of remaking Private Benjamin
that
for
is
4
one
years.
Random dream.
And it looks like they're going to change it from the Army to the Marines.
Okay.
But I've seen the original Private Benjamin. It was actually good. It's actually pretty good.
I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying I saw it once. I was like, okay, that's good.
I just don't see a need to remake it.
I don't either. Not at all. So that's why it kind of blew my mind that one came up. Of course, hey, it's no more weird than going out and trying to remake the Keanu Reeves, Patrick Swayze film Point Break. And apparently, Ryan, there has been a break from the film by one of the actors. What's going on over there?
Yes, for the remake of Point Break, Gerard Butler was originally attached to play Bodhi, the role made famous by Patrick Swayze. He has officially dropped out of the project due to creative differences as well as a scheduling conflict now that London Has Fallen has been announced.
Here comes Channing Tatum.
Was the creative difference that he didn't think the movie was going to be any good?
I think that was the reason. Thank you for bringing that up.
Should have been if it hadn't.
He didn't think they should create it.
Yeah, really. You know what? This was a bad idea in the first place. Let's don't do it. Then there's remakes, reboots. What are we calling this, David? New cast member coming in. This is the 5th Terminator film. They're calling this Genesis. Are we is this a reboot or is this a continuation and they're just going back in time?
I think it's a little bit of both because Schwarzenegger is cast. I think they're just going to mess with a time travel element, I guess.
Okay, so if we call this Terminator 5, it's not out of the realm of realism.
I think it got out of the realm of realism when it hit Terminator 3.
True, but still.
I think we should just ignore everything after Terminator 2.
They've created so many different timelines and alternate realities, possibilities. They can do whatever they want.
That's true. Yeah. All right, so what's the deal with Genesis?
Doctor Who star, former Doctor Who star Matt Smith has been signed on to Terminator Genesis in a quote-unquote pivotal role. Apparently he's going to play a new character with a strong connection to John Connor. So
I think it would be really cool if they made this like Doctor Who versus Terminators.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
I mean, I would watch that movie.
Like, let's say that,
from reboots and remakes now to mashups.
There you go.
Because Skynet keeps sending people, like robots, back in time, they've like ruptured the timeline.
I mean, I
and
started saying it's all time travel. It fits. It could work.
It fractures it, and then like the doctor's like, "Oh, we have to go save the Earth."
All right.
And RoboCop is like the genesis for the Daleks.
Oh,
Let's do it.
Put RoboCop in there too. I'm in.
There you go.
Peter Weller as Davros.
All right, Brian, back to you. And we've seen a slate of superhero films here over the past few years. Some well received, others not really so much. This panel kind of uncertain about the upcoming Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film, but that's not stopping Lionsgate. Ryan, they've gone back to the 1990s for a film. Well, let's face it, you're quite happy. So go, my friend.
Oh, gee, Whitakers, thank you. Yeah, definitely. Dust off your Morphers, dust off your Zords, and every other toy you've had from Power Rangers, because Lionsgate is working with Saban Brands to bring about a new, rebooted movie of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and I cannot wait to see this. And by the way, the internet broke on Wednesday because this news is so good, and it's Power Rangers, man. It's a new generation. I say bring it. There's a million ways they could do it. I wish them nothing but the best.
I think I'm on a different internet than you are, Ryan.
Yeah, my internet worked just fine that day.
Just fine.
I've seen a lot of people that have actually been excited. I mean, flipping around on Facebook, and I've seen a lot of people that are excited about this. I'm going to have to wait to see a trailer before I get any kind of excited
Yeah, I want to
about
see
this.
what they're going to do with it.
I won't get excited until I see produced by Michael Bay.
Yes.
Or Judd Apatow.
That would be amazing.
When do they want to try and get this thing out? Have they said?
We don't have a release date or a cast or a director yet. This is all very early stages of
They've just said, we're going to do this, and we'll figure it all out later.
The 40-year-old Morphin Power Rangers.
Are they for sure doing
Starring
Mighty Morphin
Seth
Power
Rogen.
Rangers, or are they just going to like revamp the entire concept or grab one of the like more current versions of the series?
They're not sure yet. They're still trying to work that out. It's either going to be their own kind of, set of Rangers, or they're going to go reimagine the Mighty Morphin Rangers. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just happy to see it.
Okay.
I mean, if they go with like a completely different like idea behind this, I might be interested. But you've got to go. You can't just basically go, here's the old kids cartoon now in a movie form.
I think they should just
Again.
go completely like just try to make it as top notch as possible. Like have Ben Kingsley as Zordon.
And make it like dark and like very adult.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Well, and you think about it. I mean, this was a cartoon that, people remember from what, 20 years ago now? Yeah. The people that were into it back then, they are adults. Why not turn it into something of a little
30.
bit of an adult thing? Yeah, exactly.
And if they actually like brought in some of the original Japanese storylines and mixed it with Pacific Rim, it actually really could be cool.
Okay. We'll have to see. We have mentioned him. We haven't mentioned him here over the past few weeks, but we have mentioned him quite a bit in the past. Listener Daniel, he was busy this week. He was throwing out emails at me left and right, and a lot of them are actually quite good. One of them is interesting. He brought to my attention. He was the first person to bring it to my attention. Warner Brothers is interested in bringing back the Flintstones to the big screen. We've seen a couple of live-action films. John Goodman was in one of them. It was, okay, whatever. The second one was horrible.
Yeah, second was awful.
But in this case, apparently they want to bring back a full-length animated film, which I wouldn't be so bad until the point where I found out that the executive producers of this are Adam McKay and Will Ferrell.
There goes your movie.
What do you mean?
I agree with Ryan.
My interest just got piqued.
Yeah, I start saying I'm in. Like,
yeah?
Those two behind it, I'm in.
I was just like, this is whatever. Nap time. What? McKay and Ferrell? Okay.
So, I mean, Anchorman meets the Flintstones. I'm a little uncertain about this.
Who am I kidding? I'll probably never see it anyway.
I just felt disappointment because McKay was actually just talking about how he wants to like move into more serious endeavors, and now this.
And then he pulls the Flintstones out. I don't know. Jeff, before we end this part of the show, you had shared the latest trailer for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Yes, I did,
soon.
Steve. You're
Did
welcome.
You see something new on it?
Well, all kinds of new stuff is in there.
Yeah, because a lot of new scenes in there. And I will ask this question and we'll go around the table because I would imagine most of us, if not all of us, have seen it. Did this make you want to see it more than what you had before?
Yes, it did.
All right.
It sure did.
Jacob?
I won't say more. I mean, I want
Shut
to see
your dirty
it.
mouth. Say yes.
It seemed like a lot of the same stuff for the first trailer to me.
Were you interested before this trailer?
I mean, I kind of want to see it. I'm not like...
Just stop
Okay,
talking.
so this isn't one of those things that you're jumping up and down in your seat
No,
waiting to go see.
no.
Okay.
Philistine.
I am more interested. Well, let's just put it this way. I am now interested somewhat.
Oh, this one actually got you interested, didn't it?
Like, but it's daunting because now because this makes me interested, I'm gonna have to go back and watch the first one that they did a couple years ago.
Right.
So that kind of,
speaking of James Franco,
It's good.
makes me feel like I don't want to, but I might at some point.
Okay, Ryan, anything?
I would say the trailer made me want to see the movie more, yes. And number 2 is just shut up and take my money.
Boom, that's my dog.
When is this going? July?
Yes, sir.
July 11th.
Okay. Let's see here, and since we got
What about you, Steve?
Oh, I was in at the beginning. Because I liked the first one with James Franco, and I saw the original, the first trailer that they came out with. I thought it was great. This one gave you a little bit more of the backstory here in kind of getting how the two sides suddenly decide that they're not really all that much friends anymore, and I find that fascinating. So I like that idea of it. So yeah, I was in at the beginning, and this only made me want to see it just that much more.
Do we know if they're actually planning on doing like a Planet of the Apes proper, like a remake of that?
I can only, as long as it makes money, I'm pretty sure they'll continue to
I'm sure
produce.
they'll continue the series. Yeah, just kind of wondering where they'll go from here. It would be the big question.
They should probably get Mark Wahlberg to star in that.
Or maybe not.
Tim Burton to direct it.
Yeah, really. Since we missed out on this last week, we'll quickly do out on DVD and Blu-ray before we get to the big slate of TV news that we got. Didn't talk about it last week because that was on me. So here's what came out last Tuesday. If you haven't gone and checked it out, not much. The movie Veronica Mars and the animated Son of Batman are out there. This coming Tuesday, movies you can choose from are I, Frankenstein and Her. Her, which got a whole lot of good press. Anybody seen this?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah?
My girlfriend
You
said
did?
it was good.
It's
You saw it?
fantastic.
Yeah, and Jeff?
Please
Absolutely.
go rent that movie.
Very good.
Okay.
Go rent that movie tonight or whenever it's out.
Probably not
No.
tonight, but I'll maybe next Tuesday.
All right. Well, yeah, whenever it comes out, rent it.
As for TV shows, what came out this past week, Season 1 of The Andy Griffith Show. They finally gotten around to putting that on DVD. Season 3 of China
Took a
Beach.
while to compress.
Yeah, apparently. Season 3 of China Beach. The final season of Laverne and Shirley. Season 2 of Little House on the Prairie. And Season 4 of Rookie Blue. Next Tuesday, you'll get Season 1 of Orange is the New Black. Season 2 of Longmire, which, by the way, is about ready to come back onto the AMC network. Season 4 of Eastbound and Down. And by the way, if you are just that big into the 1980s Miami Vice look, every single season of Miami Vice is now available for you on Blu-ray.
Speaking of another thing, you need to go see Orange is the New Black. If you haven't seen that,
I have not.
It's fantastic.
Because I don't.
As for Miami Vice, I prefer Archer Vice.
Yes.
I've seen that
Yes.
subplot. That's actually pretty good. We need to take our final break. When we come back, we'll be talking a whole lot of TV news, and it's renewal or cancellation season. And you might be a little surprised at some of the ones that get renewed or some of the ones that got canceled.
They do all their own stunts. The Entertainment Roundtable on Superstation 101.
I know, it seems like a fairly odd thing to come back to, but there are TV rights involved with the Olympics, so I just thought, you know what, instead of going and trying to figure out which one I'm going to pull, I just went for nice and easy, because I was on a time frame this morning.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the show, the Entertainment Roundtable. Jeff behind the board, Jacob and David in studio. I'm Steve West. Ryan on the phone, and Ryan, that's actually who we're going to next, because we start off with the Fox Network and You've seen, I would assume most, if not all, of the rest of us have also seen this. It's a trailer for the new fall show, Gotham. Tell us a little bit about this, Ryan.
Yes, this is a prequel series. It's in a reimagined series. It's from when Bruce Wayne's parents were murdered. It's about the tales of Detective Jim Gordon and him discovering some of Gotham's most deadliest criminals and their origins, from Riddlers to Catwomen to Penguins and everything in between.
Now,
It's
that
premiere
said,
on Fox this fall. It's been scheduled for 13 episodes, and after watching the trailer, I'm sold, man. I want to see this bad boy.
so they only went 13 deep on this.
Right,
Is that
yeah, definitely.
Is that a so far? In other words, could they be potentially interested in ordering more, or is this just like mini-series and then we're going to have to wait for a year for them to come back with another one if it's successful enough?
Not quite sure about that. It could go either way, but I got to say, this show looks pretty darn good. So the DC and as well as the Marvel TV universe is ever so expanding.
Jeff, anything?
I think this sort of might be a new paradigm for a lot of first seasons. Like, NBC, they only do 13 episodes per season for Hannibal.
All right.
And it seems like I think maybe this might be a growing trend for the major networks to sort of, first season we'll toss out dozen, 13 episodes, see how it does instead of committing to an entire 21, 22 episode season, especially an hour long.
You're interested in this?
Yes, I am.
Jacob?
Never heard of it. No, I'm kidding.
Right.
Yeah, I'm interested.
All of us who believe that stand on our heads.
Yeah, I'm interested. I mean,
You seem a little...
I'm a little hesitant.
Yeah, I was about to say, you seem a little on the fence about this.
But, I mean, I'll go in and with an open mind.
All right. David? Wearing the Batman shirt that you are?
Yes. I have been and remain hesitant, but Donald Logue is in it, and that pretty much won me over. But movie, I mean, it looks good. It really does.
Yeah.
So
I will say that kind of pushed me over the edge. I was on the fence, kind of like Jacob was, in that I was really uncertain because I wanted to see what it was going to begin to look like, and it looks like they've kind of hit upon it. And we will get a pretty good amount of a very young Bruce Wayne, who looks very familiar if you happen to remember not 24, but the previous Kiefer Sutherland show, Touch. I think it looks pretty good. I'll be in and be very interested to see if it holds up to the promise that the preview has given us.
It looks like it may have some Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. factor where it's like, as bad as it even if it is bad, you're still going to watch it because you're a comic book fan. If you like Batman, you're going to keep watching the show, even if it's not that great.
Well, I'm actually a huge fan of the 13-episode idea because it forces them to actually go ahead, stop putting in filler episodes, and get to your arc.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
And
what you were saying, I'd like Superman, and I never watched Smallville because it wasn't very good to me.
That's true.
So,
yeah. Smallville was great after season 4.
I loved Smallville.
Considering it went 11 seasons, that's saying something.
Yeah,
I got all 10 seasons, brother. It's my favorite show of all time. Don't mess with Smallville.
Enough said, y'all.
There you go.
Boom.
Sticking with Fox, Ryan, one of their 2013-2014 hits, Sleepy Hollow, set to come back in the fall. Apparently, we're going to get some more flashbacks to Ichabod Crane's past and more of his mingling with our founding fathers. What have you learned here?
Yes, West Wing, Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip veteran Timothy Busfield is going to take on the role of Benjamin Franklin, who has a connection to Ichabod Crane's past. He's going to show up in Sleepy Hollow Season 2 this fall.
Is he showing up in flashbacks, or is he showing up in current time?
No, I believe it's in flashbacks for now.
Okay, all right.
See, I'd be more interested if he comes.
Yeah, because I was going to be kind of curious as to how they were going to explain that one.
Electricity, I was right. Ha-ha!
Benjamin Franklin would be down to party today. Like,
good grief. No kidding.
Getting Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson together in modern times?
Shoot.
I'd be way more interested in Sleepy Hollow if they just like suddenly somehow brought back all the founding fathers and just like Ichabod and the founding fathers, sort of like, the Howling Commandos.
Let's face it, there is the possibility that could happen. I'm not going to rule out anything here.
Make it to where they're like super excited, like they're not like hesitant about being in the future. They're where they're just like accept everything, like cool, let's go to the club.
Oh no, I was thinking like it could become like the Fox News Network's only thing they ever say. Like, they could just be like, no, Constitution, founding fathers.
Fox News would be all about that, wouldn't it? A couple of other notes on the Fox network. Daniel sending me several emails, as I mentioned last segment, regarding future of shows on the Fox network. They have officially canceled, thank you, Dads. Yay! The military comedy Enlisted, which I actually never saw one episode of, and quite frankly, I heard nothing really good about it. Also gone is the Greg Kinnear law-themed drama Rake. They have also canceled the Christopher Maloney show Surviving Jack, which is a little surprising considering that show had the overrated yet highly rated, when it comes to television, I find it to be an overrated show, American Idol as their lead-in. To think that you're not going to be able to get ratings when you've got that monster as your lead-in,
yeah, but
that's a bit surprising.
Idol's had a rough season ratings-wise this year, too.
Can we cancel it?
Well, you would think they would.
Not soon enough. Ryan, back to you. Let's go to NBC, one of your favorite shows, Law & Order SVU. It's the last of the venerable Law & Order shows that is still running. They're ready to wrap up Season 15. Is there a Season 16?
Actually, yes. NBC has decided to renew SVU for Season 16, and everyone's coming back, so I'm happy.
All right, David, NBC ordering up some new series. This one of them being done by the screenwriter for the movies Ghost Rider and Man of Steel. What do you know about here?
Unfortunately, it is done by the screenwriter of the Ghost Rider movies and Man of Steel, is David Goyer, but it's Constantine.
Interesting. So Hannibal. Let's see, what else have we got coming out that's already been out? I mean, you think about some of the shows that they're putting out now, and they're doing Constantine.
They actually got a blonde British dude. It looks just like him. Yeah,
I know.
I assume it's going to be set in England, which is fantastic. Are you kidding
One can
me?
hope.
All right.
That is exciting. Actually, and
You're
it makes me feel like maybe there was something to Guillermo del Toro's Justice League Dark that he was talking about a couple of months ago.
Could be interesting.
Maybe.
Ryan, anything here? Does this do anything for you?
Well, I need to see a trailer first before I say anything else.
All right. Came back to the music from the Olympics, NBC. One more note on them before we flip to ABC. The International Olympic Committee has renewed their deal with NBC. The Peacock Network will be the only American home for Summer and Winter Olympics competitions through at least 2032. The deal that they struck, NBC will end up paying the IOC, when it's all said and done, $7.65 billion for this.
That's a good chunk of change.
I'd like to have a little bit of that. Over to ABC, word of renewals, cancellations. Let's see here. They have renewed Modern Family among comedies, The Middle, The Goldbergs. You like that show, right, Jeff?
Watched like the first 6 episodes. I really haven't paid much attention to it since then.
Okay, so you liked those shows. So those comedies are coming back, and they have announced that they are bringing back Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a second season. But I find it interesting. They are deciding that they're going to bring back they're going to go in and pull another Marvel show. This, from what I'm being told, is a bridge, because what we're going to get is what we got earlier this year. We had the fall run of Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., then they went on a break, and then came back in the springtime. Apparently, they're going to pick up from the end of the credits scene that was in Iron Man 3. They're going to follow the exploits of Haley Atwell's character in a show entitled Agent Carter. It will pick up 1 year after the events that we saw in Captain America, the First Avenger. It'll give us a little bit more background on Carter, her involvement in the beginnings of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well.
I mean, this been talked about that they've been wanting to do that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But when we've gotten to talking about this, Netflix, they're going to do like 4 different shows, Daredevil and others that are going to be involved in that. Weren't we originally thinking that Agent Carter was going to be one of the Netflix shows?
I don't think so.
No.
I thought that was an ABC.
No, that's going to be Daredevil. What was it? Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist,
and Jessica Jones,
Jessica
and then
Jones.
it's all going to culminate in Defenders.
Right. So yeah, we knew who those. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. It's a period piece.
Yeah.
Spy show.
Yeah, and it's
awesome.
limited because I don't know I don't know how long you can go with this, but I think it's great in a bridge piece to get us from the beginning, the season 2.5, to the beginnings of season 2 to the beginnings of season 2.5 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think it's a great fill right in the middle
I'm just getting excited to see what kind of like retro Marvel tech they bring into this stuff, man.
And like based on the short, my kingdom for Bradley Whitford to be in this thing.
I could see that.
I mean,
He's available.
They can bring
We'll
Dum
get to that in a
Dugan
second.
back into it.
Actually, he's on a show.
Yeah.
There you go.
Any of the Howling Commandos, bring them.
Yeah, let's do it.
There you go. About to throw in everything with the kitchen sink. The Alphabet Network has also announced they've renewed Resurrection, Scandal, Revenge, Castle, and Once Upon a Time. Once Upon a Time will make Ryan happy. And the reason why I mentioned Bradley Whitford will be available because ABC chose to cancel the Bradley Whitford Malin Ackerman comedy Trophy Wife.
Aww.
I saw episode 1. It stunk. The fact that it lasted this long, I was a little surprised by. So, not really all that worried about that. And apparently there's some singles comedy on the network called Mixology.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's gone. They didn't like that one either. To the CW network.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
Hannibal's still on the bubble then.
Hannibal, I think. Hang on.
I'm looking at Community and going, you're sitting pretty high.
By the way, also ABC canceled The Neighbors.
Oh, darn. Well, that's just a shame.
No one cares.
Was that a thing? That was a thing that happened?
Yeah.
Just before the show began, for you, sir, Jeff, NBC renews Hannibal for a 3rd season.
Boom.
Nice.
No.
Now I have to catch up.
Oh, I love that show so much. If it was a woman, I'd marry it.
I just found out ABC renewed Dancing with the Stars.
Ew.
My mom would be so happy.
No surprise there.
Good night,
I actually
buddy.
caught a bit of Scandal. That was like the worst thing I've ever seen. It actually made Arrow look good. In terms of dialogue.
That's because Arrow is
gosh.
good.
So say, what do you got against Arrow?
Bad dialogue, bad acting from pretty much every female actress. I watch Arrow. I like Arrow, but it's got its problems, man.
I will say Lauren has sometimes been very unimpressive as the actress.
You mean Laurel?
But Laurel, thank you. But I don't know.
Everybody else,
Dude,
I don't
if you're
mind.
going to kill off a character, they should have killed off Thea Queen.
Well, that may still happen.
Yeah.
Fingers
saying.
crossed.
She's going home.
Speaking of Arrow, Arrow's on the CW network. We know about some plans for the future over there. First things first, they have canceled the Carrie Diaries, which no big deal there. They've also canceled the Tomorrow People. This was the show that followed initially this year Arrow, and then they moved it over to Monday nights, and apparently it just flopped.
I loved that show.
It wasn't doing well after Arrow. I mean,
yeah, it lost a lot of the lead in on that, and then when it went to Monday nights, it just got killed.
Tomorrow People had awful, awful, awful acting and dialogue.
It had some, no doubt about it. I thought the last couple of episodes were pretty good. I still have yet to check out the one that aired this past week, but I don't know. We'll see.
I think I watched the first couple of episodes and stopped.
Fell out of it. CW has announced they're renewing Heart of Dixie and Beauty and the Beast, and they're going to be bringing in 4 new shows. iZombie, this is the Rob Zombie TV show. Something called Messengers. Something else called Jane the Virgin. I don't know. But they have confirmed they are bringing Flash in. That is a definite that will be in.
Is Messengers the one based on the movie Legion about the angels and demons and the war for heaven?
I didn't read that hard into it, to be
I
honest
don't
with you.
remember which one or what that was called.
Okay.
I thought it was called Dominion.
That's it. Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you, Ryan. Boom.
So that one's not... I haven't heard anything on Dominion just yet. Over to TBS, we can expect more original shows from them, as it turns out. Daniel continuing to send me all kinds of stuff. They've ordered up a cop comedy. This is being produced by Steve Carell. It will star Rashida Jones from Community. It's called Angie Tribeca.
Rashida Jones is from Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec,
Yeah.
sorry, the other one. I don't watch either one of them, sorry.
The other one, Parks and Rec, sucks. Community's awesome. There's a big difference.
I don't watch either one of them. It doesn't matter. Also, they have ordered up a show called Buzzies. This is a comedy set at a barbershop. I don't imagine this is going to go very far, but it is given to us by the people who created Will and Grace several years
Is
ago.
it run by a bee?
Yes. Several years. Let's see what else we got. Your Family or Mine, another comedy. This one from the creator of the TBS show Ground Floor. This one's got an interesting premise. It's a show about a couple and how they truly marry each other's families. One episode will deal with the perspective of one side of the family, then the next episode will deal with the perspective of the other side of the family. I find it an interesting premise. I'm just not so certain that I'm all that thrilled about the show.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't care.
And I'm not hearing a whole lot of people going, hey, I'm in. And I'm not.
That sounds so riveting.
Yeah, doesn't it? He also noted that TBS passed on a comedy that would have starred comedian Bill Engvall from Blue Collar Comedy Tour, something called Do It Yourself, but we're never going to see that.
Oh, that's a disappointment.
TBS's sister network, TNT.
I guess he got his sign.
Yeah, really.
Oh.
And it's that we're not picking up your show. Kira Sedgwick, who just a couple of years ago left the show The Closer, is returning to television with a show called Proof, but she will not, I don't think, star in it. She's going to actually produce the show, medical procedure drama, which is slated to star Jennifer Beals. Apparently, she's kind of like Marcus Welby, MD. She's a surgeon who's
by day,
doing investigations. But in
night,
this case, it has to do with whether there's life after death or resurrection or things like that. So a little bit of a supernatural aspect.
On the weekend, she fight ghosts. She's a maniac, y'all.
Isn't she though? And then they got Ed Burns producing a show for TNT. It's entitled Public Morals, which apparently he's not only going to produce, he's going to write it and star in it. It's a period piece going back to the 1960s, a cop drama dealing with vice cops and they're walking the line between morals and criminality. For Ed Burns, I might actually check it out. I'm not sure how long I'll stick with it though.
Yeah, Ed Burns, that just makes me think it's going to be boring.
Potentially, but then again, he's limited here to, I guess, an hour. I'm certain, being a drama, it'll be an hour, so he might be able to squeeze a little bit
He'll
more
just stretch out what he would normally stretch out in like 2.5 hours into a whole season.
There you go. Well, that's possible too. Let's see here. USA Cable Network is working with Jodie Foster. She's going to executive produce, I think. It's a religious-based show. It's called Brand. Jodie Foster doing religion? I've never known her to be all that religious a person.
Oh.
Oh.
Sound a little weird.
So, yeah, she's... Never mind.
No, so she's, what?
Has her preferences.
Oh, well, yeah. I think we knew that, though. Creator Carlton Cuse, he's done several shows. He's working up an alien show called Colony. And finally, over to the premium HBO channel, they've got a show called Vice, and I've never heard of it, but I found out a little bit more about it. Documentary-style show follows the behaviors of people all around the world and the law enforcement officers attempting to deal with the vices. This thing won an Emmy for Outstanding Documentary or Nonfiction Show last year. Okay. It gets 2 more years. They're going to keep it on through 2016.
Sounds good.
More cancellations and renewals, I'm sure, coming up next week. And Ryan, if we wanted to find out or ask you questions about those cancellations or renewals or anything else, where could we find you?
You can find me at Ryan Matthews. You can also find me at Nerd Society X. I'm one of the admins for that page. You want to talk film, TV, anything else nerd or geek related, give us a holler.
All right. You can find him online. You can find David online as well, David.
Yes, you can find my completely disturbing and geeky comedy videos at maladjusted.tv.
Can we find you anywhere online, right, Jacob?
Not at the moment.
Oh, okay.
Working on some stuff.
Oh, there he goes. Jeff, you? Anything online?
I got email. I'm on Facebook.
Well, there you go. Get Jeff on Facebook. Get us on Facebook here at the Entertainment Roundtable, the official Facebook page, whatever, with Steve West. Have a great weekend, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms.